What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Salud Cabrones podcast. I am Danny Villegas.
And I am Javier Ledesma.
And before we get started, we ask that you like, comment, subscribe, and share the Salud Cabrones podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. And follow us on all social media platforms at Salud Cabrones Podcast. Javier, we have a special guest with us today, man. This is our first musician.
I know she came prepped.
She sure did.
So look at that, dude. She's brought her own guitar and everything. I mean, we've already had you sing with some of the guests.
I already did a Taylor Swift duet.
I know.
I'm ready for whatever. I don't care.
This is uncharted territory here. As soon as she walked in, I'm like, this is gonna be fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a young Latina musician artist straight from Chicago. Please give it up for Miss Rosalba Valdez, right?
Yes.
I forgot that shit. Yes, Valdez. No, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to just get to chatting.
Yes, we're excited to have you. Like Javier said, you brought your guitar. You're ready to go. I was like, man, all right.
I'm ready.
We're ready to do this.
You came in here asking questions about how everything was going to go down. Have you done many podcasts? Have you done many interviews like this?
I've done a couple, but I'm excited to do more, especially with just like more stuff that, I don't know, I just want to talk about. And I don't know, I feel like we're all biased, right? And we all think our opinion is like gold, right?
Right.
And yeah, I think that about mine as well. So.
There you go.
There you go. So you're Latina. Where'd you grow up in?
I grew up in Pilsen, in Little Village.
Okay.
I consider those two neighborhoods my home, Chicago. But yeah, no, I'm still in Pilsen, Little Village, and yeah, those are the neighborhoods that I love and claim.
Yeah, I grew up off of Kedville and 25th. So I grew up in Little Village as well. What part of Little Village are you from?
I moved around a lot, both in Pilsen and Little Village, but I was on 26 in Costner for a few years.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I'm not going to say where I live now, but that's it.
No, but like I said, you're a musician. How long have you been an artist for? Musical artist?
I've been doing music my entire life now. It's since I was like 5-6 years old. My dad's also an artist, and he sings and plays guitar. And since I was a little girl, he handed me a guitar and a book to learn guitar. And ever since then, I just kind of never let it up. He put me in a bunch of like church choirs and bands, and my dad himself was involved in a few groups like that played like for quinceañeras and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I also got some experience at an early age, and in like kind of like rondalla style groups as well. So yeah, my whole life now. But I guess officially as myself, like Rosalba Valdez, promoting my own music and stuff, I would say since 2019.
Okay. So what, 6 years? Almost 6 years in.
Almost 6 years.
Yeah.
How was your first experience getting on stage as a little kid?
What was my first experience? I cannot remember. But it was probably like at church or something. All I know is that it was fun. When I was a kid, it was really fun because it was like with other kids my age. And then it was almost like we would not compete, but in a way, I guess compete to see who was like singing loudest and like trying to get like the microphone and stuff like that. So it was just fun. And those were my first experiences. As I got older, obviously, I started taking it more seriously and stuff like that. But I still always try to find the fun in it, because if not, then is it even worth it? You know?
Right.
That's true. My kid's 7, about to be 8, and it's kind of funny how you talked about being the loudest. When he does his performances at school, he's one of the loudest, and I'm always like, Jesus Christ.
You must enjoy it. Yeah.
He's like, so
it's
loud.
fun. Yeah, it's super fun.
So now, as a kid, who were you growing up watching as far as the musical artists? Who are you listening to?
You know, I think I was like every other kid, like, listening to very basic stuff like B96, 103.5, Kiss FM, the radio. Because we had one of those, like, what do you call them? Boombox?
The boombox, yeah.
Type things. You have the CD and tape player, and then the radio itself. And so that's what I used to, like, listen to music. And so it was anything from, like, I'm going to say names now, and I hope people don't judge me, but like Justin Bieber.
We're judging.
And Katy Perry. But aside from that, obviously my parents listened to a lot of different things in Spanish, very specifically. Like my mom would listen to Los Yonix and I don't know, Los Temerarios, whatever. My dad, Ramon Ayala, Pedro Infante was huge in our family, especially because of my dad.
Yeah.
And how influenced I think my dad was by like Pedro Infante, Jose Alfredo Jimenez, and stuff like that.
Same.
But Pedro Infante, I remember like doing an entire project on at school where I remember I printed a picture like at the gas station. This was before like I don't know, everyone had a printer or a laptop at home. I was a kid, and someone thought it was my dad because they looked so similar because they had like the bigotes and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
if
some
if
random
you walk
person.
upstairs and see my dad right now, you'd be like, huh. And you know, it's funny. My dad's second last name is Infante, so to this day he claims that he's family members, and I'm always like, bullshit. Where's the money?
No, that's so funny. And now actually having met Lupita Infante, which I think is his granddaughter, this was like in the past year or two, I don't remember. It's like crazy to me how small the world is, because literally I feel like, not that we idolized him, but in a way, yes, right? And growing up with him as a figure, just a musical figure in my life, and then even meeting his granddaughter, who is also still an artist and musician and doing the thing. So it's like super cool and just such a blessing. And I don't know, I'm grateful for where music has taken me, and just, I don't know, makes me see the world a certain way.
Yeah. And now, what do your parents say seeing you right now becoming the music artist that you are?
I'm not sure, actually. I don't know what they think. They don't really express their emotions.
Like a true Latino.
Exactly. I get my validation from other people, from friends, actually.
Yeah.
So no, it's I don't really know. I'm sure they're very proud of me. I definitely, every time I have a show or I release a video, I share it with them, and I know they're sharing it too, like on Facebook. That's where they're at, you know. So.
And how old were you when you started learning to play the guitar?
Like 5.
Okay.
5 and 6. I started with like the guitar, and then I got into singing because, well, the free guitar programs were like at churches and stuff like that. So that's, I started pretty young. I still don't necessarily consider myself an expert, but I know my way around. And I also teach guitar every now and then, although I kind of put that on a pause right now just because capacity and life and being super busy with other projects, musical projects. But no, I love guitar, and again, just grateful I have that as an outlet and a form of expression for myself.
Who are the current names that you're actually listening to right now? Since you mentioned that, Pedro Infantes of the world, that's old school. But what about anything modern?
Modern, it's all over the place, man. There's this thing about being like, and I don't even know if it's just because I'm bicultural, right? Like Mexican American, but just globalization, and like with the power of the internet, like we can hear sounds from all over the world just like on our phones. Like back in the day, people just had radio and like had to buy CDs and stuff like that. Literally, we can find anything on YouTube now. And so I feel like because of that, and again, my biculturalness, like knowing 2 languages, I listen to so much stuff, and I listen to all kinds of stuff. It's like sometimes I'm just like in a regional Mexican mood, and I'm like Karin Leon, like, bruh, I love his voice, and
He is good. I do like some Karin Leon. Yeah.
and and then other days I want something a little more obscure or something a little lighter, like Silvana Estrada. I don't know if you all know who she is, but she's a Mexican artist, and she just sings so beautifully and from the soul, and it's kind of all over the place. Sometimes it's like salsa, sometimes it's not Latino music, sometimes it's I guess just pop, regular pops. Sometimes it's Chapel Roan. I'm super into Chapel Roan right now because of everything that she stands for, and just I like her music, and her energy is super hype. So it just depends on my mood, but it's all over the place, I think, now.
What was the first song that you learned how to play on the guitar?
Día tras día los meses se van. I'm not sure what it's called.
But that's the song?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's called Como Te Extraño.
Okay.
But I don't even know who it's by. I remember I would try looking it up, and like it would never pop up on Google. But this was also like a long time ago, maybe like 10 years ago. Maybe now, with Google being more advanced, showing more results, it would pop up. I'm not sure, but I remember that was the first song.
Yeah.
Y'all probably don't know the song.
Anybody that goes out to see one of your shows, what can they expect when they see you on stage? Who are you emulating outside of obviously your own originality? But there's always shades of who people really like within their music. What can people see within your music, experience within the music?
You know, I feel like I can answer this because of what other people have said. Like just yesterday I had a show. It was an acoustic intimate show, but a lot of people in my life from different meeting them at different points in my life in the past years came out to support because it was an album fundraiser show. And someone came up to me and said, "You remind me of Julieta Venegas." And just like her free spiritedness and just like doing her thing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't know if anyone's ever compared me to Julieta Venegas, but I love her. And I definitely have been inspired by her because I remember watching her like music videos on, I don't even know what it was. Like it was like Saturday mornings on TV. Maybe channel 60 or 66 or something like that. I don't know. Whoever's listening, if you know, you know. And they would just show like music videos and stuff, kind of like MTV, but in Spanish.
Yeah.
And I would watch. She would be on there, and so that was really nice. So maybe that's what I give, a little bit of Julieta Venegas. I tell people like I love Mon Laferte, Natalia Lafourcade. I'm super inspired by them, right? Like it's like the female entities, the artists that inspire me because I'm a woman myself, and Selena as well, especially the past few years. I did a Selena tribute in 2023 at the Pritzker Pavilion at Millennium Park, which is really cool experience, and it just like encouraged me to learn a lot more songs in her repertoire.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, like I play a lot of her songs now, especially when I do like long gigs, like 2 or 3 hour gigs, and people definitely are like, oh my God, you're like, and this is other people's words, like the social justice Selena or just like the new Selena. And I'm like, well, I love Selena. I definitely don't think I'm Selena or like Selena at all. Like I'm definitely like my own person and stuff, but like I love her so much. And if anyone thinks that I resemble her or I'm doing her justice in any way, like that's an honor. So those are kind of like the artists that I think people might see myself kind of emulating or resembling. So
What's your favorite Selena song to sing?
Took the words right out of my mouth. Actually, whatever that song is, I can't wait anymore. Why don't you pick up that guitar and give us a little bit of that Selena?
funny.
Yeah, already, huh?
Like as soon as you said that, I'm all like, I don't want to just hear what song that is. I want to I want to experience that song.
There's so many songs. Let me think. I'm telling you, I'm like, I have a list. And it kind of depends. Honestly, sometimes it's not even just like me playing it by myself. It's like with the band, like especially like my bass player, the bass player that I play with, he's so incredible. And the bass lines or the key, like the synths in her songs, just like, and feeling it live, I'm just like, damn, it just sounds so good. But let me think. Damn, for real, should I just
You
pick
can
it
wait
up?
until later if you want.
Okay, maybe we
Just
can do it towards the end.
Yeah.
I'll keep thinking about it. I'll come back to that question.
No, that's
the
right. But
favorite
so
song.
then, when you start performing as Rosalba Valdez, you said in 2019, right? What was the first time you stepped on stage as Rosalba Valdez? 2019. That first time you stepped on stage, what are you feeling?
You know what? I think it was like a Mole de Mayo Fest. And because I just remember that day vividly because I had 2 shows. I had Mole de Mayo Fest, which was like my first festival as myself. And I was playing also at Cubby Bear in Wrigleyville with like a few other bands on a lineup, like opening for them. And so that day just itself was like the first day I was kind of like putting myself out there with my band. Like, okay, I got these people in my band. I don't know. It was just really cool. And for sure for the festival, I was just like really nervous, first of all, because yes, I had experience on stages. I have been performing my entire life, but all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it's my name. I'm presenting myself. I'm singing my original songs that I haven't even released yet because I was going to release them later in that year. But it's all kind of just like practice, right? For like other stuff. And I don't know. I just remember being super nervous. I was on stage and I'm like, se me están trabando las palabras because I don't even know what to say. And then come to find out, like, you know, I'm like, you know, you have to rehearse all of that stuff. You have to rehearse like what you're going to say, just like the banter and stuff like between you and the audience. And yes, you rehearse the music, but it's not enough. It's like just the music in itself is not enough. Like, how do you communicate with the people aside from just the music? So it was a very interesting experience.
Reality check, so to speak.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, like being an artist is a lot more than just like the music, at least, right? Like it's the connection with the people, and it was a great experience, and I'm just so grateful because I feel like ever since then, like that was just like the start, and I was like, I like this, and it's almost like I wanted to work harder to have like better shows, better performances, because I knew that in that moment I did my best with what I knew, but that I could do better after that experience. After, you know, being like, damn, I'm so nervous. Like, how do I get rid of this nervousness and how do I just talk better?
So now being 6 years later, what have you noticed a difference in yourself as far as your performance, in your communication with the audience and stuff like that?
I definitely just feel the growth, and it's like everyone I think still gets nervous, right? Because you care.
Yeah.
But I at least know what I want to communicate with the people, and I have more confidence. And that in itself, it's so, I don't even know how to explain it. I feel the growth. I see the growth in myself because of the videos, right? Like, thankfully, like, we have iPhones. Everyone has a phone, and there's like footage everywhere, right? And so I just see myself, and I'm like, oh, like, wow. I don't see myself performing, obviously, right? But then I see myself afterwards in the videos, and if I don't feel cringe anymore, the way I used to feel cringe when I would watch my own videos, now I don't feel cringe, and so I'm like, okay, that's growth, right? But yeah, not feeling that cringe after watching my performance on my phone is, I think, the growth.
Yeah,
starting to feel comfortable in your own skin, so to speak.
Yeah. So.
So now, what do you notice as far as like now? You know, you're out there performing. You're feeling more confident. You feel more confidence. You know, obviously you still got the butterflies. You know, that just shows the passion. You know, I mean, everyone doing something they love, they still get the butterflies in their stomach. But how do you feel as far as like with your performance? Do you feel like there's a lot more into your performance than what it was before, as far as like you know, like the feeling behind your performance, like the emotion you're putting behind your performance, has that evolved for you?
The feeling and the emotion. I feel like yes, especially with like my original music, or just my music in general. But I feel like maybe before, I mean, playing music by myself is one thing, but playing music in front of people, for example, is just like a whole other thing. When you're by yourself, it's easier to like let out your emotions, use, you know, songwriting or just singing, play your guitar in your room, whatever. It's easy to like let go. But when you're in front of people, it's like, whoa, like, it's like, am I still supposed to communicate that vulnerability with them? And at first it was really hard, right? So I feel like maybe it wasn't as shown, and sometimes it was, I think, especially with like sadder songs, whatever. But now it's like I can do that now. I can kind of be vulnerable with my music, whether it's happy, sad, or whatever it's talking about. I feel like I'm able to express that more, and I feel like people appreciate that too, because everybody wants to feel seen. And that's also what I've learned, that it's like, as an artist, I'm an artist for myself first and foremost, but I'm also an artist for other people. because again, it's the whole feeling seen thing and people resonating with your message or your song, your lyrics, or the even just the rhythm, whatever it is. But I definitely feel like now compared to the past, I've also progressed in that area and just being vulnerable, even like with my lyrics, just my songwriting in general. So.
Okay.
You ever had people that come up to you during the show and they feel like they've connected with you because you've shown that emotion? I say that because I've been to more concerts than I can count. I love live music. And I've witnessed like small names and big names sometimes come out and play a particular song, and you can totally tell there's emotion. Sometimes there's like tears in their eyes. You can hear the crackling in their voice, and they make it through the song. And after witnessing something like that, depending on what your love for that particular artist is, almost makes you want, actually, let me rephrase that, almost makes you feel like you know them better. Because now they've shared something so intimate, and you're just kind of blown away. And, you know, you're like, wow, that's tears, that's emotion, whatever it may be. But now you feel more connected to that artist. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. I mean, like, I feel that with artists myself, right? Like, when I go to concerts and I only imagine, I've definitely seen people cry, like, whenever I perform, especially at things like funerals, obviously, right? But, like, I remember one of the first experiences that I think really shaped me, and especially in wanting to pursue music, was seeing a grown man cry because of a song that I was singing. And it was a song that I had written with my dad about like immigration related. So it is called Se Llevaron a Mi Padre, very much talking about it from the point of view of a young girl whose dad was deported. And these are things that I did see myself, witness with like friends in my church and like just in my community, people who had experienced really tough situations like that. And that's why my dad and myself wrote that song, Se Llevaron a Mi Padre, to kind of tell that story from the point of view of this young girl. And I went around the country singing that song, and even to like the border in Mexico singing that song. And I remember watching a grown man cry, and I had never seen a grown man cry like that. I talked earlier about how my parents are very not expressive with their emotions.
Yeah.
So I definitely never saw my dad cry except at my grandpa's funeral. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, like music is powerful. Like maybe he would have cried if I had just told the story, but like I told the story through music. And for me, at least, it was just like easier to do that, to tell these stories through music. And that's when I found out like, wow, music is just like really powerful. It's a storytelling vehicle, right? And I've cried. I remember I mentioned earlier Silvana Estrada. She came to the National Museum of Mexican Art, I think last year or this year. I can't remember. And I got to go see her at the museum. And I myself was crying, like bawling and just connecting with her music and her. And I was also a little embarrassed because I was around people and I was like trying to hide it. I'm like, I'm so happy it's dark in here. But no,
put your hair on your face.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God. But no, it's real. And that's what music is about. Like so I hope that, you know, I'm not trying to be out here making people cry, but you know, if it happens, I hope it's for healing.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Are you familiar with band? Oh my God, I have brain fart here moment. But Audio Slave. You familiar with them?
No.
So Soundgarden singer Chris Cornell, he has a song in there that I always thought was a love song. And there's an interview where he talks about how he says they describe the song as kind of like a weird double meaning song, but it's not really a song. It's a song about death. And I've had this song as like a ringtone for my wife. So like thinking because it was a love song, right? And I remember seeing him perform that song live after that. And I remember just going like, holy shit, like this song is like so much more impactful when it's not a love song anymore. And like I remember hearing it and just go, oh. Like it was one of those moments, you know, like I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Oh, but yeah, it's intense. I can imagine the feelings that person went through hearing you sing that song, because it's something that probably hit home for him so much.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. And like even just last year, I did release a song called Mama, which I wrote kind of as like the lyrics say Mama, ya no llores, te perdono, which I guess is like me forgiving my mom for just stuff that's happened in our lives. Or just, I don't know, this idea that I had of her or what I thought maybe a mom's role should be. And just trying to move forward. It's in the lyrics, right? But so many people messaged me, like telling me like that they were crying just listening to the song, that they had to show it to their moms. And even recently, people have still been messaging me about the song, like especially if it's like the first time that they've heard it. And it's like that's just what it is, right? Like it's like I wrote that song for myself, and when as I was writing it, it wasn't because I thought, oh, I'm gonna like make this single for people to, I don't know, to talk about my mom or whatever. I didn't want to put my business out there, but I wrote it because I had to like let my feelings out somehow, and that was like the way for me to do it. Even just like having conversations like that, right? Like vulnerable conversations with my parents. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It's not something that we grew up doing. So that was like the way to do it for myself. And I know that other people just felt super seen and resonated with it because they have experienced probably similar things to myself, where maybe their parents are just not super, emotionally available or whatever it is, right?
That seems to be a very common trend in our Latino culture.
Yeah, we want to change that.
Yeah, we've had that conversation on the show before, where we basically talked about how a lot of us share very similar upbringings. Mm-hmm. We may not be identical, but
yes, exactly.
We share certain stories that it almost seems to fit in every single Latino family across the board. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, exactly how you're saying, is like it feels awkward to have certain conversations with them. I've had those exact same moments with my parents where I'm like, I'm sitting there and there's something I want to ask, but I go, if I ask it, am I going to be seen as weak by my dad? Or I feel awkward bringing these kind of subjects up to them because they're more adult natured, some things like that,
Yeah,
and so you just kind of let it go instead. And you just kind of say, you know what, I'm going to sweep it under the rug and I'll get through it. Mm-hmm. And then you become an adult and then you're writing songs about it now, right?
Yeah, and other people, I guess, are crying and resonating for some reason too. So
what was your mom's reaction to that song? Did she have a reaction to it, or?
It's funny because I remember I sang it at the National Museum of Mexican Art, and I remember she was just telling me like, yeah, yo no iba a llorar, no iba a llorar, no iba a llorar, and I'm like, okay, like no one's saying like you can't cry though. Mm-hmm. Like in my head when she's telling me that, I'm like, where's she getting that from? Like it's not a bad thing to cry. So like, and ever since then, I feel like our relationship has progressed too and like evolved just in the last year, right? Or in the last 2 years since I wrote it, because I wrote it in 2023, released it last year in 2024. So I guess now it's like a year and a half, whatever. But I just started asking her all these questions like, how were your parents? And like, I even bought a book that says, Mama, cuéntame tu historia. And I bought it because of TikTok.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's just like
TikTok.
Yeah, I know. It's like all these questions that you can ask your mom in Spanish because my mom speaks Spanish. And it's like about her life, stuff that like I never really asked, or I would try asking my parents questions about like their past and stuff like that, but they're kind of like, why do you want to know? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, because I want to know, lady. Yeah. But I started asking her all these questions and like about her parents and her upbringing, and that's where we kind of started to uncover a lot of things like, oh wow, like her dad also was very like emotionally unavailable, and like her parents just like, it was a very specific and unique upbringing. Not unique, because a lot of people, I think, also have those similar stories. But it just, like, it's a generational thing. The trauma keeps getting passed down. And so someone's like, no, it stops with me, right? And I guess I had to be the one that was like, nah, man, like, tell me you love me and tell me you're proud of me. And why won't you cry? Like, I want to see you cry. I want to see that you're human. Yeah, like I want to see you cry just like me because I cry all the time and I'm a crybaby. So, it's all of these things, and yeah.
No, I get it. I just had this conversation the other day with my mom because my son, he's 7, and he asks me all the time for them to show up to his games. He plays soccer, he plays, baseball, basketball, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. This kid's like a monster, right? But he does so much. And so I get it. His schedule is full. But having so much to do, you can probably just go to one thing whenever it benefits you. There's always going to be something he's doing, right? And my parents sometimes are like, he'll be over at the house and my dad will give him a $20 bill or something, right? And he goes home so happy that my dad gave him a $20 bill. And then I told my mom one day, I was like, I don't give a shit about the money. I'm like, I don't care that you're giving him money. I'm like, you didn't go out and see some of the stuff that I was doing. I'm like, but he asks. I'm like, and I don't care whether you show up or not. But I'm like, that's going to be so much more valuable for him than $20. Like, I'd rather you go and cheer him on in one of his games because he asks for that so much. And it was crazy, like, for me to, like, I am now in my 40s and having saying that to my parents. And I go, I would probably not have had the balls to say that, like, at a younger age, But I'm like, you guys don't understand. This means more. And I remember when I said it, I was like, holy shit.
Hey.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I was like, what the fuck was that? I'm like, yeah. I'm going to walk around like, you know what? I'm the man now.
I love that.
But yeah,
I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah, and like they were.
Then you hear a crack in the floor. You what the fuck? Shit, I'm just joking.
I'm just joking. Man. Chancla in her hand.
Oh my God, for real. Cabrón.
¿Cómo me digas eso? But no, it was crazy. You could hear her. And then like a couple days later, she was like, hey, when is his game? And I'm like, oh, you fucking softy.
Did they go?
Yeah.
They ended up going?
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, that's kind of stuff like I didn't get. And I'm like, judging from the words you're saying, that you probably didn't get that either.
Yeah, exactly.
And money's money, and we get it. It helps.
Absolutely.
But the support of being there for someone means a lot more.
It really does. And it's something that even myself and like my sisters, because I have a niece, she's 6. But it's something that we had to tell my mom too. Like, oh, like, Mom, like, you never told us you were proud of us, or you never did this for us and this and that. And like, we were like, I remember my niece had like a drawing or something, and she was like trying to show it to my mom, which is her grandma. And I know my mom's like so tired and she works and all that stuff. And I was like, Mom, you got to pay attention and you got to make her feel validated in this moment. Like, it's crucial because that's what shapes, I don't know, her attitude and just like her personality and her way of life, right? Like for the rest of her life, feeling just like that little bit of validation, like even if it's like an ugly whatever type drawing, like just be like, oh, this is so cute, oh, put it on the fridge or whatever. Like, just encourage it, validate it. That's it. Make her feel seen.
Yeah. And then you said you had sisters?
Sisters.
How many siblings you got?
I got 3 younger sisters and 4 older half brothers, but it's me and my younger sisters really that kind of like grew up together.
So like your sisters now, what are they saying after they hear this song about your mom? Because obviously, you're not getting that emotional support from your parents because, like we said, they don't show emotions. But your sisters are they went through the same childhood you did, and they're hearing this song that you made about your guys' mom. What are they telling you?
Honestly, we didn't really talk about my song, or we didn't really talk about my music like that. Me and my sisters, but they do support me. They go to my like events and stuff like that, or will help me sell like my merch, my shirts and stuff like that. But like we do talk about this stuff like that, right? Like we'll talk about like, yeah, man, like my mom was never like this, or like my grandma kind of like acts awkward. Like we don't know if like they like us or not sometimes. But like we do talk about it, like these things that we're like, you know what, we're not gonna do this with Vicky, which is my niece's name. So like we do talk about this stuff, like the way we grew up and kind of like analyzing it and being like, well, why did this happen? Or I don't know, just stuff like that. So we do talk about stuff like that. But I guess not necessarily in relation to my music. But I do like post stuff sometimes about like my family or in relation to my music. And I'll kind of give them a heads up, like, hey, just FYI, I'm posting this. And they'll be like, damn, why are you putting our business out there? But then they also don't really care. So they're just like, ah, whatever.
I was asking because if that was me, if I was a songwriter and I wrote a song that about my mom, first of all, mom, you fucking liar. I was never like that to you. Then my brothers and my sisters, but man, I can't believe you did that to mom. Damn. And all of a sudden they're all teaming up against me. So that's why I was asking.
You get all that heat from all of them.
Get all that heat from all of them, bro.
He always cracks me up because he always tells me that he knows when like his birthday or like main holidays are coming around because like the entire family will get mad at him.
You're mad for something. I don't even. What are they mad at you for? I don't know, bro. I don't know. Something I did or didn't do. I don't know.
So funny.
Trauma follows you around forever.
Man, it does, doesn't it?
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you? Because you look very young. You look.
Very young.
I would think probably like.
Danny gets this question always pops out of Danny. I don't understand Danny. I don't
know.
know.
That's a very rude question to ask a woman.
That's what I said. If you don't mind,
I'm just kidding. I don't care. Nah, I was gonna make you guess. Don't.
Not.
I'm 25.
Okay, because I was
quarter of a century.
I would have guessed either 20, 21.
Damn, that's young.
You look young. You look really young. See, we're old. I'm 40. He's 48, yeah. So we're old. You know?
Oh, I thought you said I was old. I was like,
no, I'm old.
I'm old, yeah.
Every episode I get older, apparently, to Danny. It's like every episode he has like 2 or 3 years.
Y'all look pretty young to me. I don't know.
Except for this
I feel like we're the same age.
Right?
That's how I feel, honestly. Everyone who's like, I don't know, I have a bunch of friends in like their 30s or whatever, even 40s, like, and not everyone feels like they're old, but some people do. And I'm like, I swear, I'm like, we're the same. Like,
you know why?
I don't know.
Judging on what you've said and the conversation we've had and the influences you've had, and I just feel like you're a very old soul.
I've definitely gotten that since I was a kid.
Yeah. And so right now it's funny. They said, "Oh, you know, blah blah blah, we're vibing." I'm like, "That's because you're an old soul, woman. We're old, but you're an old soul."
I am an old soul. I can't help it.
So now your songwriting, is it all based off your life experiences? Where do you get your idea for your music?
Mostly, yeah. I feel like, especially recently, I've been better at being vulnerable with my music. And so songwriting is much more personal than it used to be. But in the past, I think that, for example, like in the past 5 years, or I don't know, before like 2020, 2019, I was definitely trying to write more from like other people's perspectives because it's just really scary to write from your own. And again, it's like that vulnerability piece. But now it's like, I'm not trying to write from someone else's perspective. I want to write from my own because even just my own, I think, are very valuable, is a very valuable perspective. And like, that's who I want to write for like my younger self, for people going through the same stuff that I have gone through or am going through. So it's definitely like from my own perspective, and I come from this very specific background. I'm Latina. I come from my parents were immigrants and low income and stuff like that. So it's like I'm writing for myself because there are so many people with these exact same experiences, and I don't necessarily care to write from, I don't know, for somebody else. Like, that's why I want to help my younger self and people in my community.
Do you find it therapeutic for you to
write?
Yeah,
very therapeutic. And I don't know, you have to feel like you're doing something. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's the old soul in me, or I don't know what it is, but I also very much think like tomorrow's not guaranteed. And it's like, what am I doing with my life if it's not trying to heal and just make the world a better place through whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it's like music or my lyrics, trying to like uplift people, spread joy even through like these Latino rhythms, whatever it is, make people dance, whatever. So it is very therapeutic.
When you're putting together your lineup of the day, when we're about to go on stage and whatnot, and you're putting together like the songs that you're about to play, are you conscious about where you're putting certain songs because of the location, maybe the crowd, things like that?
Yes.
And do you change anything on the fly?
I was about to say, do you change it last minute when you see the vibe with the crowd?
Yeah, I do. It kind of depends, right? I do have like I think most artists already have like a lot of songs in their repertoire if they are gigging consistently or whatever, depending on their like style of music too. And I don't necessarily like to like learn anything on the fly either, or like take requests. I do sometimes, but not like that. but I do gauge it. I gauge it based off of like audience participation. I gauge it based off of the clapping and also whether people know English or Spanish in the crowd. Sometimes I can see it's like not a lot of Spanish speakers, and a lot of my music happens to be in Spanish. So I kind of gauge it off based off of that. So I try to do a lot more like stuff in English that I know, but still honestly doing stuff in Spanish because that's kind of just what's in my repertoire. That's what I do. I'm a Latina artist and I do bilingual music, but it's majority in Spanish. So
Do you have any songs that are in Spanglish?
I do,
Ooh.
especially lately. Like there's something about it. It's just, I don't know, again, like my evolution as an artist or as a person. I used to write mostly in Spanish. I found it very difficult to write in English. I don't know why. I feel like it's because growing up, I think like I was singing so much in Spanish because of my dad and like all of the, the churches, like it was always in Spanish, church choir. So it was always like learning songs in Spanish through my dad.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, I feel like maybe my brain related music, and I'm saying this a lot, of kind of figuring it out for myself, like related music only with like Spanish. And so maybe that's why when I would write in like, or write songs, it would come out in Spanish. But in the past 5 years, I feel like I've been writing a lot more in both languages and mixing it in the song. Like, not even on purpose. I feel like it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
It's like, who am I talking to in this song? It's like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of my songs are actually bilingual. Let me think. Yeah, a lot of them are bilingual.
The reason I ask, a lot of, for example, the majority of my friends, I talk to them in English. I come home to my wife, it's all English. Come here to hang out with my mom and dad, it's in Spanish. But I have a lot of in-between friends where we don't even realize that we're talking in Spanish or English. We just are talking. And then if anybody's recording us, all of a sudden you realize that we've been switching back and forth from English to Spanish like seamlessly. And we're having a normal conversation. So I feel like Spanglish has become the language of people that were raised like us. You know what I mean? We're raised in Latino families, but as our upbringing is more Americanized because of where we're at, like I feel that Spanglish has become kind of threaded into our fabric of who we are.
Yeah, I think so too. I definitely agree. And I feel like, I mean, I was doing this the other day. I'll have people like who start to speak to me in English, but I can hear kind of a little bit of an accent. And I'll do this thing where it's like, I'll speak to them back in English, but maybe I'll say something in Spanish too, just to kind of make them, I don't know, make them feel like comfortable if they want to speak in Spanish, right? But also if they don't, that's fine. And sometimes they'll kind of like go into Spanish, and then I kind of start doing the Spanglish myself, and I'm just like, or sometimes they'll just like keep speaking in English, and I'm talking in both, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry, like I'm speaking in Spanglish now, and I can't even like help myself. It's just happening. Yeah. I'm like, I just want to, and I feel like I used to feel like I couldn't speak either language very well or fluently or whatever, or like my vocabulary wasn't super extended or extensive in either language. I'm like, I feel like, I don't know, it could be better. I could be speaking English more, I don't know, I could articulate better, or same thing in Spanish. And then I was like, you know what? I can communicate, and that's enough. Like, I don't need to be I'm not like an English professor or whatever, or trying to teach Spanish at this level or anything like that either. Like, I can communicate in 2 languages, and that's already so much more than most people who can only speak one.
Yeah.
And like, I don't need all these fancy words in either language. And maybe my brain just doesn't care to learn any extra fancy words in either language because I already know 2, and that's already a lot of words. So it's like, I feel like I used to feel some kind of way about it, and now I'm kind of just like, you know what? I'm bilingual, and I love it. Like, and it doesn't matter if I have to switch back and forth sometimes because I can't find a word in one language and I go to the other one. And sometimes I can't even remember the word in either language. But,
Yeah.
you know, our brains are just funny like that. So
I think a lot of times in Spanish, but my words will come out in English. Do you ever have that issue where your thought process, like exactly what's happening here, I'll think in Spanish and I'm like, ¿Cómo se dice esto? ¿Cómo se dice? And then boom, I'll say it in English, and then I'm like, how the hell was that?
that's so funny. I feel like I've definitely thought about how I think. And I think like right now I'm thinking in English. But it just kind of depends like who I'm with. For example, I'll go to Mexico and everyone's talking in Spanish. And then all of a sudden like it switches. And I'm like, I'm thinking in Spanish and I'm only like communicating in Spanish, right? Because nobody there speaks English, like in my family or anything. But then like, I don't know. I would catch myself sometimes like thinking in English and just translating to Spanish as it would come out. But I guess I just have to get into this mode where all of a sudden it's like it just switches for whatever reason because I'm around only Spanish speakers or whatever. And it's like I'm not just translating, I'm just thinking in Spanish all of a sudden.
No, that's insanely hard for me. I don't think if you drop me off in Mexico and be like, yeah, there you go, I probably wouldn't survive very whole lot. I can't.
I think you would. I think our brain does something at a certain point. I don't know. It just depends. There's also like the whole like how confident or secure, you know, how safe you feel, right? I think that's something to do with it. Like
I've been called a coconut numerous
exactly that thing. It's like not wanting to be judged, but then it's like if you can just like, and it's really hard. It's easier said than done to be like, oh, just be confident, just don't care what other people think, and it'll happen. But it is hard.
I always felt like I was stuck in a world where I'm not white enough to be white, not brown enough to be brown, and I'm not necessarily liked by both, so I'm stuck in the middle there.
In the middle, yep.
Yeah, so
that's where we're at.
That's always the way I felt about it. I'm like, God damn it.
That's so funny. I also used to think that, but I don't like that.
I
like,
don't either, but
I'm not. And so like I've switched it. You know how people say like ni de aquí ni de allá? I'm just like, no, I'm tan de aquí como de allá. Like I'm claiming all
both.
of it. I'm everything. You know, I'm a human being first and foremost, but like I'm from here as much as I'm from there. Like, and it doesn't matter like what other people think. Like, but also that's taken me a while, and that's just like my personal thing. I'm like,
your own growth.
Nah, like I'm from here. I'm from Chicago, but I'm also from there. My mom is from there. Like my family's there. Like I belong to all of these spaces because I do feel like we sometimes just feel like, yeah, like where do we belong, right? Like, but I've worked really hard on that for myself to be like, nah.
Where is your family from?
Michoacán, Mexico.
Michoacán, Mexico?
Yeah, Michoacán, Mexico. And I mean, I got family all over the U.S. and California, just around, and in Mexico too. But that's where my family's from, Michoacán, Mexico. Ancestry DNA says the same thing. So
I'm curious, what are some of the struggles that you've been through coming up in the music business?
Ooh, definitely a lot. I feel like, first of all, well, let me think. Let me gather my thoughts. Financial is one thing, right? Like trying to record music and just do things. And then being, I think, a woman. And then also being an artist that like sings in Spanish, but not necessarily like stuff that's like in or like popular, right? So it's like it's so layered, it's so nuanced, but like there's so much to it.
Because of the type of the Spanish music you're singing, because of that?
I feel like it's just like I have so many styles, but not necessarily like a lot of different styles. I kind of just say like, oh, I do Latino music. I feel like it's a good umbrella for all of the other stuff that I do because there's so much under that. There's like salsa, there's tropical, cumbia, regional Mexican, right? Like rancheras, corridos. There's so much under that like really big umbrella. And I feel like I do a lot of different stuff. And it's just because that's just like what comes out. Not necessarily because I want to be all over the place. It's just like, nah, I'm just a human again. Like I don't care to put myself in a box and be like, oh, I only do this style of music. And again, maybe it's the biculturalness in me or the globalization. People and the planet were influenced by so much. Like I feel like a lot of musicians and artists, like we love a lot of stuff. But I also know like some people are like, no, like I'm R&B and that's kind of like my thing. I just do R&B music, but like that could never be me. I like everything. Like it's really hard, at least for me personally. So that's just like one layer, one of the challenges of being an artist in the music industry. It's just like, even just like the genre thing, right? Like, where do I fit? Or am I just creating my own freaking lane? And then the other thing is just like, well, also I'm a woman and like my entire life, right? Like, even not just as an artist, it's such a thing that you have to navigate. Like, and a lot of people don't think about it, especially people who are not women, right? And some women also go through these things, but don't necessarily analyze it or understand why. But just like feelings of like safety, right? Like going to a show and it's like feeling like, okay, well, I can't go by myself, especially to like a new thing, a new, I don't know, bar, restaurant. It's like, I don't know, people coming up to you that you don't know and like sometimes like even harassing you and, or people just like communicating with me in a certain way, or like not even communicating with me because I'm a woman and like going through my partner or going through somebody else in my band because they're a man and they don't feel comfortable talking to me or whatever. Or like asking my partner for permission to like talk to me, or like, hey, I don't want to step on your toes, man. Like, but I want to work with Rosalba or whatever. And it's like, then talk to me. Why do you gotta talk to my man's? Like, it's not like he owns me. I'm my own person. It's like, are you already objectifying me from the go to the point where you're just like, oh, I can't even talk to her? Like, send me an email if you want to feel like, if you want to not come off across a certain way, or just come off professional and respectful. So it's like, it's so layered. Even just like the concept of just like being sexualized and people being like, oh, well, you're sexualizing yourself, or telling women that they sexualize themselves if they dress a certain way. And it's like, are you serious? Like, it's so layered. And that's one of the things, right? I mentioned already the genre thing, the being a woman thing. And also like, there's not a lot of women in the space being like uplifted, right? Like the statistics show that like festivals and lineups are majority men, unless it's like a very intentionally curated show for like, oh, all women show or all female show, or whatever. And for example, like last year, I remember it was something that I was working with this one festival in Pilsen, and I was very outspoken about that. I was like, hey, y'all, like, we need to get as many women as possible on this lineup. Like, we need to just be diverse. We don't even have to be saying like, oh, this is what we're doing. We just have to do it, because throughout history, women have not been uplifted or put up on these festival lineups like this. And it's like, and even just like the people that would be applying for the festival, right? Like, it was a lot of men. And it's like, well, why is that? Like, asking the questions, right? Like, why has this been happening? Or why can't I find other female musicians to play with in my band? And it's like, well, why are there less women in these music programs or going to college for a music degree? And it's like, it goes down to like, even just like women not being told they can't play guitar. That's something I heard a lot when I was teaching guitar and teaching like older women. And they would tell me like, oh yeah, a mí mi papá no me dejaba aprender la guitarra porque solamente era para los niños. And everybody in that girl or woman's family was like a musician, except she couldn't be a musician. Why? Just because her parents or her dad would say no. Like, where the woman's supposed to be is like in the kitchen. It's like these very outdated concepts, which are not necessarily super outdated. A lot of people still think that, and they still believe that.
Do you know who Nita Strum is?
No.
She's one of the best guitarists on the planet. She happens to be the most beautiful woman I've ever laid eyes on. It's just friggin' insane. There's something about her playing the music that she does. She plays it for heavy metal bands, but she specifically plays for Alice Cooper.
Okay.
And if you get a chance, Google her, and you're gonna be like, "Holy shit!" Because the sexualizing is there. She's gorgeous, but then you get past that, and she shreds circles around men.
Yeah,
Like, she's
I love
just
that.
so freaking good. Like, insane.
Love that. Yeah, no, and it's like there are women out there doing it, and it's like, and that's why, like, when you see them, right, like, uplift them, encourage them, right, like, even just for myself, I see some of the younger girls just like in my community, just like singing or playing guitar, and I do my best to be like, dude, keep doing your thing, like, work on, like, the shyness will go away eventually, right? Especially like for young women, like, the shyness is there, right? Because it's a safety thing, whether it's because we just don't want to be judged or whatever, right? But it's like, hopefully they get out of that, because I used to be very shy, but like, we have to encourage them and like, and support them. So yeah, no, that's awesome. And I see that too a lot with like some of my favorite artists, right? Like with Mon Laferte, or even like I was saying earlier, Chappell Roan. Like, they're super intentional and like good at having like those female artists like in their bands or whatever, just like, and it's beautiful, and I love to see that and follow them on Instagram and see what they're doing and stuff too.
Do you feel, as a guitarist, and you're talking about your struggles like that, do you feel like, for example, the expectation of a great guitarist, right? Where it's, let's say it's here and it's the standard for men. Do you feel like for you have to be that much more better in order to be looked at, in order to be taken seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the reason why earlier I was talking about like, yeah, I've been playing guitar since I was 5, but I still don't necessarily consider myself an expert, because I feel that. I feel that like, if I'm not like this incredible guitar player, like super agile with my fingers and stuff like that, that I'm not good enough. Even though there are so many men out there who play guitar and I know I'm better than them, but who are like, oh yeah, this is all that I do. I'm a guitarist. And I know that I do that myself. And the research also shows that like women won't apply for jobs, or like even in the example that I was talking about, like festivals, right? Like, apply for festivals, grants, whatever it is, to the rate that men will, even though they are sometimes even more qualified. But like, men will take those chances even if they don't think they're qualified, because they're like, well, let me try anyway. But women, they really do feel like I have to be like exceptional or even better than that to like at least even try or to apply for like this job or for this grant or for whatever. Like, and that's also something that I'm trying to push, or with like, and I do this with like just my friends, like my female friends, musicians or not, like, girl, like, even if you don't think you're good enough, just try anyway. Like, we got to at least start there, getting out of this mentality of just like feeling like we're not going to get something or whatever. Just like, because the statistics, the research really does show that we don't even just like apply for jobs when we totally could.
At the end of the day, what's the worst that's going to happen? If you get a no, then you'll be like, oh, I already knew I was going to get it, right? But okay, guess what? If it happens, then you'll be surprised. You're like, oh my God, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's so layered, and it happens to so many people, and so many people just don't even understand why they have these feelings and stuff like that, right? Because you have to do a lot of research and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of therapy, which is what I do. But yeah, I definitely try to encourage, at least in my immediate circles and stuff, like women as much as men, to just like educate, right? And be like, yo, like, it's not just you. It's a bigger issue that we're all kind of dealing with, but not always are telling or talking about it.
When you finally took that gamble and you applied and you managed to land a big gig at a festival, what was it walking out on stage and seeing that huge crowd? You're like, oh shit, I'm here.
I'm so lucky. A lot of these festivals that I've performed at, I haven't necessarily have to like apply for them.
Okay.
But I did apply for the Garfield Park Conservatory, which was like they had this series this summer called Music Under the Glass. And I don't know how many other people applied, but I was like, let me try it. And I even put like a good number on there for like my rate, right? That's also something, right? Like the rate and like how much we ask monetarily for gigs as an artist and stuff like that. And like last year and the year before that, I was asking for bigger and bigger numbers because I have those like friends and influences in my team, people in my circles that are like, ask for more, ask for more. And I was doing that, and I remember I applied for the Garfield Park Conservatory one, and I got it, and I was like just super happy. And it was even like it was a free event because they were paying for everything, but it was like at max capacity, all that stuff. And it was just like incredible. And I played all of my original music, which just made it that much better for myself because it was all original songs, including new songs that I'm going to be releasing this year and recording at the end of this month, January, actually. So that was incredible. Kind of just like doing these things where I'm like applying for stuff and then I'm like, oh wow, like I got it. Like it is like a kind of like a mind-blowing thing sometimes, like how everything just happens sometimes. So like, wow, you just got to put in a little bit of effort.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely have seen myself do that, and then just being like, wow, all of this stuff happened because I did this.
Mm. Now, doesn't that help with like moving forward, looking past all those obstacles that you have to go through?
Mm-hmm.
You know, seeing something like that, experiencing something like that, does that help you break right through that cycle and push right through? And
Yeah,
you know,
it does. It really does, because it's like, oh, it's totally possible.
Yeah.
Like there are other people who also want to see just like change and
Mm-hmm.
like good change, positive change. Like, you know, we all want just like a more equal and like happy, joyous world, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I feel like in music too, like I see a lot of people want that, especially in the creative community, because if you're trying to be an artist or doing music in a world that's like super capitalistic, super driven just like by money and profits, and like who has like the fanciest car and the biggest home and like, you know, all this stuff that's like super materialistic, I feel like those of us in the artist community are not necessarily like that. Where, yes, of course, success for a lot of people in that community is like, oh, being rich and famous. But I think for a lot of us, it's also just like because we're in it and we understand a lot of these struggles, and like we all feel how hard it is, like on so many levels, including like financially. We're like, we have to do this because we just freaking love it, and because we still see like the value in it aside from just like being rich and famous.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the value in it is just like promoting this goodness, it's promoting this joy, it's just promoting connection to one another. And yeah, I feel like everything that I've done in the past 5 years, just in I guess my career, has been like me just being even more committed to my music, because I feel like I'm doing something with it,
Mm-hmm.
which is not just like, oh, getting rich and famous, look at me. It's like, no, there's so much more to this. Like we can just experience joy and happiness, even just like at a show, dancing and singing together.
Mm-hmm.
So
What are your next like short-term goals for you?
short-term goals, this album that I just mentioned, I really just want to get this album out, released into the world. It would be my first album. So I have a few projects out there. I have 2 EPs and like a few singles. And I've done so much with just that. But I'm so excited to finally just have like an album of 10 original songs. And all of these songs are songs that I've written in the past couple of years. And I'm just like really excited because I actually really, really like the songs myself. I'm like, when I listen back to like the rehearsal recordings and stuff with my band, I'm like, damn, like we sound good. And it's like,
Feeling myself here.
yeah, I'm like, if you can feel that with your own music, again, like I used to feel cringe about myself and like a lot of the stuff that I did in the past, like just my performances, watching myself, listening to myself, just like my voice, how it's also evolved in the past 5 years. And I don't necessarily feel that anymore with myself. I'll actually listen to myself and be like, "Oh, I like this. Like, who is this?" And it's like, "Oh, it's me." But yeah, I'm really excited about that. That's like my immediate short-term goal. This just releasing this album, getting it out into the world, and hopefully getting more opportunities because of it, and getting to just like push it. I don't know, touring in the future, maybe stuff like that. That's kind of like where I think I'd like to go after the album, because I want to have the album ready first.
Have you noticed your music come across people that surprise you? Like, oh my God, I can't believe my music reached so and so and so and so.
I feel like I have mainly because of people like on Instagram and like TikTok, because again, just like it's crazy how we have these like social medias, right?
Yeah.
And we can reach people all over the world, whether you're an artist or not. And just like getting to meet people through these channels, it's incredible. And I remember like this account shared my song Lucha de Familias, and then George Lopez reposted it.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know if this is George Lopez or whoever manages his account, or maybe he manages it. I don't know. But they reposted it and I was like, damn, like that's super cool. So that was really cool. That was like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago maybe. Probably like 2.
Oh, that's great.
I don't remember. But yeah, that was like one thing. And I was like, man, just social media, like we got to be on there.
It's a powerful tool.
It's such a powerful tool, and we're underutilizing it in the Latino community. I really believe this, and I've been saying this a lot recently, especially with like just people in my circles. Like, yo, we gotta get on social media. We gotta take advantage of like the video, the photo, everything. Just be more on top of it, because there's so much negative rhetoric being spread online about the Latino community, but also just for humanity in general. And we got to be, going against that. Like, it's such a powerful tool. It's free. Yes, it is time consuming to create videos and to make podcasts and do all this stuff, right? But it is worth it, because propaganda is not what it used to be. It's not like, on the news anymore. You don't get your information from TV anymore. It's all online.
Yeah.
Where we're all at on social media. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's those funny meme videos that are kind of saying weird negative stuff about a group of people that we think it's kind of funny, but actually it's not. It's actually causing harm, because it's promoting this negative stereotype about this specific community. And so we got to be very careful about the stuff that we consume. And right now, a lot of us in the Latino community, in our communities in general, we're just consuming media, and we should be producing media. And that's what I'm doing with myself, right? With like my music. I'm like, I'm going to produce. I'm going to be a creative. I produce music. I'm going to, capture it on video, photos, whatever, promote my message. But more of us in our community, we need to start telling our own stories instead of letting all of these other entities that spread negative rhetoric and use our communities as scapegoats for problems that we did not cause and are not causing. We just gotta tell our own stories and shift the narrative about our community. So that's yeah.
No, it's a great word. It really is, because you're right. Especially in the Latino community, there's a lot of negativity. We get looked down upon so much.
We do, yeah.
So we can uplift not just other people, but other Latinos in general.
What's that? You mentioned George Lopez. Remember that the "you ain't shit" balloon and all that stuff. That's a funny joke and all, but it's
the
true.
truth, though. Yeah.
Like, no one puts us down more than ourselves.
Yeah.
So once we can get past that, then other people will take us serious.
Yeah, no, and it's like it's that crabs in a bucket mentality that we have, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, why do we feel like we got to compete for like crumbs? Like, no, we don't got to do that. Like, we got to see who put us in that bucket in the first place, like as crabs, right? Like, yes, we have this crabs in a bucket mentality, but who put us there?
If I was a crab, I'm pinching your butt. Danny, I'm fucking just
Me too. If I'm in a bucket, I'm gonna get out somehow.
squeezing everything, crunching
Use
everything.
your fucking crab eyes, bro.
Crab ass.
No. Would you like to show a little something for us? Play a little something for us?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay,
Excited to hear this too.
I still haven't figured out the song, but I'll
Play
figure it out once I.
Play what you wanna, whatever you wanna play.
Let's see.
It's like MTV Unplugged right now up in this bitch.
Right?
What do we do? I feel like I do this song all the time. Maybe I shouldn't do a different one.
Which one is it?
Amor Prohibido by Selena. Just because we said Selena earlier. Or do we want to do another one?
No,
Whichever one you
do
like.
your thing.
Yeah.
Tú solo tú.
Solo tú? That one?
Tú solo tú? Or no?
Solo. Yeah, you can
I
do
like
that one.
that.
Do that one. Yeah. Yeah.
Mira como ando mi bien. Yeah? Okay, cool. We'll do that one.
You mind if I go on live on here?
Yeah, that's cool. Testing. Cool. Mira cómo ando mi bien por tu querer, borracha y apasionada no más por tu amor. Mira cómo ando mi bien, cuídame en la borrachera y en la perdición. Tú, solo tú, has llenado de luto mi vida, abriendo una herida en mi corazón. Tú, solo tú, eres causa de todo mi llanto, de mi desencanto y desesperación.
Yeah.
Man.
Gracias.
I gotta take a shot after that one. Man. That was great.
Gracias.
That was good. It was great.
That was a first.
Yeah.
Let's turn the studio into a friggin' concert venue up in here.
Yeah. No.
Thank you very much
Thank you for that.
Thank you for having me once again.
No, absolutely. That was great. So how can people check out your music?
Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, and yeah, those places. The standards. When I release this album, I definitely plan on having it pressed on vinyl. And I'm also fundraising for my album, so if anybody would like to become a supporter, I will be giving thank yous and writing people's names, organizations and individuals who donate towards the album in the next couple of months. And I will be including your name on the vinyl when it's released.
And how do they do that as far as being able to give money?
They can follow me online. They can follow me at Rosalba Valdez. There's not a lot of Rosalba Valdez's out there, so you'll find me easy. My website's out there. I do have a Patreon page, and I'll be sharing information about how you can support all the time, especially this month and next month, because it's when I'm going to be pushing harder, especially since my recording session is coming up at the end of the month. So.
Okay.
When can they catch your next live?
Next live, not sure when this is going to be aired, But my next fundraiser show is happening on the 18th of January at Sabora Cafe in Chicago on Peterson and Western Avenue.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I guess we got a date. Now we got to go out there. Wait, that's the 18th?
That's 18. We got a wrestling show that
What
day.
time are you going on?
Oh, 8:30. With a really amazing, incredible friend of mine. His name's Chris Larumbe, who is also an incredible singer, songwriter, guitarist, overall musician. He's my vocal coach.
Okay.
And just incredible friend. He's a good friend too. So, yeah, we're going to be doing a duo.
Okay.
Awesome.
Nice. And where's it at again?
Sabora Cafe.
Sabora Cafe. Okay.
In Chicago.
In Chicago. Okay.
North side.
Man, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for playing for us. That was
much.
great. You sound
Yeah,
great.
thank you
Thank
for
you very
having
much.
me. I had
Yeah.
a question earlier,
Yeah.
but
Sure,
we
go ahead.
kept talking about other stuff. I was like, where are you guys from? Your families?
León, Guanajuato.
Nice. Okay.
My dad's from Zacatecas.
Zacatecas.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. My friend was just out in Zacatecas
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
That's where my dad and his family from. My mom's Tejana. She's from Texas.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Well-
No, thank you. Before we head up out here, any last things you want to say?
Spread love, kindness. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Spoken like a true old soul.
Well, Miss Rosalba, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. We hope you had a good time here with us
Yeah.
tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
No, of course, of course. Once again, thank you to Rosalba for coming and hanging out with us today. Thank you guys to our sponsors, the Law Office of Christopher Hoff and a Taco Villa in Villa Park. Big shout out to Chris and Barrett Mysterio. Appreciate y'all, fellas. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Salud Cabrones podcast on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube. And follow us on all social media platforms at Salud Cabrones podcast. Rosalba, this is the part of the episode where we sign off with a toast. And you got your water there. We just raise up our beverages and we just say Salud Cabrones at the end. So when you're ready, 1, 2, 3.
Salud,
Cabrones. We out.